Seven, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You'll never have the sacred stone.
Oh, this you crazy mother.
Welcome everybody, this is Danny Lambert in the Plush Republic channel. I have Gaetano DiNardi behind me, Director of Demand Generation at Nextiva and one of my favorite marketers. Gaetano, do you mind introducing yourself and telling us a little bit about Nextiva?
What's up, Danny?
How you doing?
It's a good pleasure to be here with you, man. I've known you for a while. We collaborated on some stuff back from the Sales Hacker days. So it's a pleasure to keep in touch and be on your show, man. It's awesome.
Awesome.
Thank
man.
you.
I'm glad, thank you for joining, man. I'm glad we had a chance to reconnect. Sales Hacker days were fun, and then you've had, quite a couple of jumps here. You went to Outreach, and then now you're at Nextiva. From everything you've been telling me, that's going awesome. So I'm really, really happy for you. That's a really cool move.
Yeah, it's been fun, man. I would say, Nextiva is a tough industry. So I guess I'll just share a little bit about the industry and what it is that Nextiva actually does with your audience. So pretty much, where we went from being a voice over IP company, and now what we realized is that, well, actually our CEO predicted this would happen, and he's pretty much always right. Like, it's insane, like how his vision is just so on point. But he predicted that, he predicted this like 10 years ago, that the voice over IP market would eventually become commoditized. So what you're seeing now is that basically at the end of every month, competitors are just straight dropping the pants, undercut in price, and it becomes like a Walmart style bidding war over, who's going to close these deals at the end of the month, who can go lower, and then we're seeing some insane pants dropping. Like, we're seeing things like 2, 3 free months, free this, free that, just like stuff that you couldn't even believe companies are doing just to get customers. And it's not something that is going to be sustainable in the long run. It's more of a tactic than a strategy. So now, we've been building this product called NextOS, and essentially what it is an all-in-one communication suite for businesses. And it includes things like CRM, live chat for your website, marketing automation, surveying, analytics, all built into one umbrella system that also powers the voice over IP mobile app and SMS capabilities. So you can text message your customers from your business line. You don't even need a hard phone if you don't want. The app is something called a soft phone. So there's a desktop app for Mac and Windows, and you can pretty much run your entire business from your laptop, with the all-in-one view of the customer journey. So we're transforming from being a dial tone, we used to just be a dial tone company like all these companies were.
Yep.
And now, we're kind of leading the charge on transforming from a dial tone to a customer journey suite, customer experience suite.
So how do you approach that conversation, right? Because VoIP has always been, or very recently has been super commoditized, like you mentioned, and I'm sure a lot of people would come into that conversation expecting just a VoIP solution. Like, I just need voice, and yet you have all these other product lines that everybody else doesn't. So how do you make that known to the market? How do you market that so that you're viewed in a different light than these other people who are just dropping their pants at the end of the month?
I mean, that's why they brought me in, because this is freaking hard to do. This is the hardest job I've ever had to do, hands down. I mean, not only are we trying to become a leader in a category, like you said, we're trying to educate people on these new technologies that are out there. Now, I should also mention that we have a number of different types of customers. Our bread and butter is the SMB, which is that classic inbound model, high velocity, you know what I mean? The sales cycles are short. They close within a week. You know what I'm saying? So it's tough.
Yeah.
Now the other thing too about this that I'm finding so fascinating, coming from Sales Hacker to this, is that these buyers are not that sophisticated. you got to talk to them in the simplest possible way. So one thing I do often is I do text analysis, and I run it through this Flesch Kincaid readability analyzer that basically grades the reading level language difficulty of the text. So
Spoken like a true SEO over there.
yeah. And this comes back from my content auditing days. Like, one thing I used to do for clients would be to compare the readability of their content and see what is the correlation between difficult to read content and conversions versus easy to read content and conversions. And pretty much, like, 99% of the time, it's direct correlation between ease of readability and conversion rate. So if I go to one of our competitor landing pages and I see, wow, beautifully written copy, easy to digest language, meant for the average, everyday, ordinary Joe Blow, you know what I'm saying? And then I look at our copy and it's like, all these sophisticated words, too many syllables, long paragraphs, yada, yada, yada. It's a clear night and day what we got to do. We got to simplify this stuff.
Yep.
So just getting inside the mindset of the another thing I discovered too is like business SMS. Nobody, like, you don't hear people saying SMS a lot.
Yeah, well, you do it if you're consumer and you're, e-commerce, and you got all these bots and fancy softwares trying to get into people's DMs, but that's not really that B2B side of the house too often.
It's not the B2B side of the house. The average everyday, Nancy's flower shop owner, she's not walking around saying, how do I SMS my customers? She's going to search for something like, business text messaging, or how to text message customers from my business phone line. So instead of, targeting business SMS, it's a no-brainer. Okay, we got to call this business text messaging because this is what people know. Yep. So it's just like really, and then on the enterprise side, it's totally different. Obviously, we have an enterprise, customer base as well. And that's a completely different beast. So, long story short, it's just, it's a daily war. It's a daily grind. Like, new shit is popping up every day, and it's just getting inside the mindset of the customers.
Yeah. And that must be such a crazy transition, coming from sales hacker, where the people that you're marketing to are highly sophisticated, super informed, trying to be like thought leaders. And the others are probably, especially on the SMB side that you mentioned, just daily workers trying to find a solution that can help their business right now. But in that environment, I assume, like you mentioned, you have an enterprise side and then you have like this SMB side. How do you structure your marketing teams or your efforts? Is it by product? Is it by that tier, like small, medium, large business? How do you go to market with your marketing efforts?
Yeah, it's a good question, dude. So it's interesting. We actually structure our team according to the route to market. And the way we figured this out that works for us, and I think this is brilliant, I love it, and it's just working well, is for every sales division we have, there's a marketing leader that represents that sales division. So for inside sales, we have a marketing leader that is solely dedicated to solving problems for inside sales. For enterprise sales, there's a marketing leader, enterprise marketing leader, who is solely dedicated to solving the everyday challenges regarding enterprise sales, hitting quota, filling the pipeline with leads, yada, yada, yada. For our software sales division, that is solely focused on our SaaS products, we have a SaaS marketing leader. For our resellers and partners and channel, we have a channel marketing leader. And those people come to me as, I'm a request fulfiller. They're going to come to me and they're going to say, hey, this is the number of leads we need to get this quarter to hit our goals. We need to fill our pipeline with this, based on the data we're seeing, they're working closely with ops. I'm working closely with ops. Based on the data we're seeing, we're seeing a lot of traction with accountants, for example.
Yep.
How do we create campaigns to infiltrate accountants at 20 to 50 seat deals? Then it's up to me to come up with the tactics.
Yep.
I'm going to my marketing channels. I'm going to my Swiss Army knife. What are we going to do PPC wise? What are we going to do SEO wise? How fast do they need this to happen? SEO is going to take a while. What kind of outbound mixes can we do? I'm writing sequences, right? I'm doing automation. So I'm kind of like, one of the most highly request bombarded people in marketing because, I know how to make this shit happen.
Yeah.
So, it's just every day, man. It's just like, I'm constantly partnering at the hip with enterprise sales, with inside sales, with software, with channel, the sales leaders, every day. It's just nonstop grinding. So it's cool, but we're working closely with sales.
That's a cool structure. I really like that is kind of the autonomy within your own section of the company to know what's best for the business, and then roll it up to you to help try and find the tactics that make the most sense.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, rolling that up to you is probably a great idea because of all the people that I see out there, you're always coming out with, very innovative, very well written and dense content. That's one of the questions I always ask whenever I see it, like the video that you recently came out with the in-mail in the mall. And if you guys haven't seen it, go check out his videos, his posts on LinkedIn. He essentially took the worst in-mails that his I think his CEO had received and then goes and tries them cold on people at the mall. And it's hilarious and it's super effective. But give me a little insight into your mind when you're coming up with these ideas, because everything seems so inauthentic, and yet every time you come out with something new, I'm like, damn, how did you come up with that? How do you do that?
Well, being a musician, man, it's all about showmanship. You're only as good as your last hit record. You're only as good as your last at bat. And I think about it in terms of like, how do I please my fans? Like if I'm a band or if I'm a music artist, the goal is to entertain and to please your fans. Mm-hmm. So if I want to communicate a message, I got to do so, but I got to do it differently than what everyone else has done. One thing I always strive to do is to go away from what everyone else is doing. So I see a lot of the same stuff, right? And I'm just like, let me think outside the box here. We also do these once a month kind of wacky advertising brainstorm ideas where we just get a bunch of us in a room and we're like, what is like some of the craziest outside the box shit? Like, what would HR say? No.
Like, yeah, call you into their office immediately type shit.
Yeah, exactly. Like, let's start thinking about that, and then we could scale it back down if it's too wacky. But let's get as wacky as we can get. And with the cold in-mail idea, I don't know, it just hit me out of the blue one day. We have, first of all, Nextiva has a very positive mindset when it comes to video. And it's very much video. Our CMO is obsessed with video, as he should be, as we should be. Video is huge. We all know that. So we have a team of video producers in-house, and it's like,
that's nice, man. That changes the game, and then trying to find people to piece your video together.
Exactly. I don't got to go looking for videographers. I mean, I got a guy sitting not too far from me. I mean, I work from home, but when I'm in the office, I got a guy sitting right over there who knows how to make these videos work. He knows how to edit. He knows how to mic me up. So I can come to him with my wackiest ideas, and he's like, oh, yeah, we can make that work. Yeah, totally. So, I'm thinking, I'm in Scottsdale, Arizona. People are relatively friendly. It just hit me like a ton of bricks. Like, it's a no-brainer. And I was just like, you know what if I just went up to people and started pitching them? How funny would that be? And everyone was like, yeah, that's gold. We have to do it.
Yeah, immediately, like, that's it. Let's go right now. We're not even finishing this meeting.
And, the thing is, too, like, I'm getting bombarded every day. You're getting bombarded every day. And it's just, after a while, you just start thinking, like, something's got to be done, man. Like, yeah. And I see these rants on LinkedIn. People, they try to get their point across by saying, stop spamming. But it just doesn't quite get the point.
Yeah, because everyone does it the same way. If everyone's saying the same thing, you're like, at that point, it's almost the equivalent. Because then you're trying to get a like out of me in the same way this person's trying to get a meeting out of you.
Right. And when I see people complaining about this on LinkedIn, I see the rallying behind it. Like, yeah, they're spamming us. And I'm just like, okay, so I know this is a big topic. It's resonating. Most people on LinkedIn are salespeople because they're prospecting like crazy. So I already know this is gonna go. I already know this is gonna hit. I already know. So yeah, we just did it, man, and no fear. Just hey, just let's just go.
That's awesome, man. And then for you too, like I feel the same frustration that we all feel is like everyone just jumps on these bandwagons and it's different forms of advertising, it's different forms of messaging that have just kind of been deemed useless at this point because they've just been overused. What are the channels and kind of tactics that you've been seeing that are very unique and very effective? You know, voice and video being two that are really effective. But what else are you seeing out in the market that's surprisingly effective to you?
Okay, I got a couple of gems here. These are good.
These are the little nuggets.
Dude, I got some good ones for you. So, all right. On your mobile phone, on the LinkedIn app, one thing you can do now that not many people know about is you can send your prospect, if they're a first degree connection on LinkedIn, a voice note in their DM.
That's pretty hot.
So we've been doing this and it's been working. Now imagine you're a prospect, right? Instead of seeing long paragraph, I'll use the example from my video. Hey, we do this. Can I get 15 minutes on your calendar to, yada, yada, yada. Or you just get an ominous voice note attachment.
Yeah, dude, it's like when someone actually leaves you a voicemail. You can't not listen to it.
You can't not listen to it.
You're like, well, what would they say? Like, no one does this anymore.
But it's better than a voicemail because, it's not creepy like they got your number.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They just DM'd you. Now you can't do this from desktop. You do it from mobile. Mm-hmm. But imagine, you get a very nice spoken 15 to 20-second voice note from someone. That's pretty cool, especially if it's personalized. So that's a good way to crack the ice, get conversations going, and it's just a mix of something different, and it's just not the same old crap.
Yeah. That's pretty awesome. I mean, there's a lot of stuff out there to like drop voicemail and do certain things with the voice, but not at that level of personalization where someone's going to hear it and be like, this was unique to me. I feel special. It wasn't just dropped in my inbox cold. That's a good one, man. I really like that.
That's a good one. So I was thinking about not dropping that one, but
but I pulled it out of you. So maybe I'll back off of your individual tactics for a second because I don't want you spewing all your secrets here. But more importantly than even the individual tactics is how you go about finding them, right? Where are you looking? How are you making sure that you're staying on top of all these things before they become, commoditized marketing mediums for everybody else to use?
Oh man. I read a lot. I spend a pretty significant amount of time researching technology. I pay attention to a lot of the things that Scott Brinker publishes with his MarTech publication. Is very good. I'm constantly reading Gartner and Forrester analyst reports on trends. And we have an analyst relations team that feeds us this information. So I'm reading a lot of this stuff, and I'm just kind of seeing like what's working, what's not working, what are the analysts saying, and then I just see what people are doing on LinkedIn and stuff, and I just see like, okay, this is overdone, don't do that. This is not overdone, try this. Another thing that I'll tell you, this is a good one too, this is actually really good, is we've been incorporating SMS text messaging into our outbound cadences.
Yeah, we do that as well with our SDRs. Is everyone's doing push messaging and text messaging on the SDR team, and it's just been quite the difference. It can be a little bit intrusive, but you got to take some of those risks, if you want to break through.
Correct. Yes. I don't know. I mean, just little things too. Like, one thing I realized was like most of our audience is pretty male heavy. And we were sending like SDR emails from like, male names. Like, I'm just going to throw something out there, like Harry Douglas, right? Mm-hmm. Then I said, what if we switched it to Natalie Jones?
Well, you're saying Harry Douglas isn't a hot name. It's about as Midwestern salesy as it gets.
It's just, yeah. I mean, when you hear Harry Douglas, I mean, I just picture like an old British dude sitting in a pub, with like circle glasses, Austin Powers, briefcase, high socks type guy, or do I want to talk to Natalie Jones? I think I'd rather talk to Natalie Jones.
Yeah, me too.
It's just it's just preference,
Yeah.
Not saying that Harry Douglas is not going to be a great salesperson and not going to meet my needs, but it's just the way that, the middle American buyer thinks.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And we read customer reviews all the time, and we read competitor reviews. One thing we see that some of our competitors are doing is outsourcing their support and even SDRs to, South America and Russia or wherever. And middle American buyers do not like dealing with people that have foreign accents. That's just the way it is.
Yep.
That's just the way it is. I mean, there's no way around it. So, that's just all there is to it.
So it's another interesting question that comes off of that is being a sales hacker and then moving to an organization that's, quadruple the size, if not larger. I forget the exact employee count, probably even more than that. How has that affected your workday, coming from a smaller organization and now having all these resources available to you that you may not have had previously? And how does it also affect your campaign time to come up with an idea to get it out? Is it longer because it's more bureaucratic, or does it make it a lot easier because you have all these resources at your disposal?
Ooh. It's that's really a tough one, because if you're dealing with a request that's hugely complicated, it's inherently going to take longer. But this is what I love about Nextiva, though. It's not bureaucratic. Like, most people think big companies, like, you got to go through all this red tape to get shit done. That probably is true with, like, I'm just going to throw a few names out there. I've never worked there, so I can't say for sure. But let's just say, Oracle, SAP, Salesforce, yada, 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 right? I'm sure they've got a shitload of brand rules, guidelines, legal, whatever. With us, we have that startup mindset. Like, that idea from the mall, dude, that was idea to completion in like 3 days.
That's incredible. That's incredible. You could even do that anyway. Like, that's not easy to do.
Dude, that was idea to completion in 3 days. That was, hey, video producer, let's go to the mall and shoot this right now. And he's like, all right, let's go at 2:00. All right, great. Come back tomorrow. Hey, let's run through the editorial process. Let's think about how we want this to flow. All right, cool. Let's get the subtitles and captions burned in. Cool. Transcription done. Wednesday, video done. Boom, published, done.
That's
you know what I mean? Like, yeah. CMO, love it. Let's go. Boom.
That's fast, man. How do you project manage all that, right? Because you have all these different teams, you have all these different members all running in their own directions for their own team, trying to hit their goals. How are you managing all these initiatives and making sure that, A, you're getting the stuff that people need when they need it, but also just making sure all running in the same direction?
That's the hardest part, dude. I'm going to tell you right now, it's not easy. A lot of people might think that it's all flowers and cushions, but man, this stuff is challenging. We use Asana. Like, I don't understand how companies could, operate without a project management tool like Asana. It's fantastic. There are many others out there, but we just happen to use Asana, and it's fantastic. I am an Asana freak. So, one thing with me and my team, deadlines are not optional. Weekly sprints are decided on Monday and reviewed on Friday. If you're not going to hit a deadline within 48 hours, that's your cutoff. If you pass that 48-hour window and you don't hit that deadline, you're going to have to, it's going to be a tough conversation with me. I don't let that fly.
Yeah.
I run a tight ship over here. So weekly sprints, and they're prioritized by difficulty, proximity to business results for sales, and current team capacity and bandwidth. But it's without that, we'd be in a really messy place. But whenever an idea, we do also allow like 25% of our work to be something we call HOV lane, where like if an idea like the mall video comes out of nowhere, we just have to do it.
Yeah, that's like that Google 20% time, right? But
yeah.
your own swim lane for that. Man, that's important, dude. That's like you catch yourself in these ruts, or at least I catch myself in these ruts where I'm not giving myself that time. You know, that 2 hours to just sit there and like really ideate, really come up with something good. You end up just like churning and burning, and you're like putting out the same old stuff, getting all of your work done, but nothing spectacular. And I feel like most of the good stuff comes from that time.
Right. You know, like for me, when it comes to content creation, there's really two interesting ways to go about it. Two ways that I like to go about it. There's the SEO approach, where it's keyword driven, you know, really structured approach, and it's meant for ranking and conversion. That's clear as day. It's anything that's, you know, your top funnel, mid funnel, and then long tail and question based content and all this stuff. So it's more scientific. Then you have the mall video approach, where it's like, yeah, you can't do keyword research on that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you got to just really just like you observe what happens in everyday business life, and you try to make something very relatable. It's no different than music trying to create a hit record. You know what I mean? It's like, how are you gonna make the next what's that song that's popular right now from Chris Brown? You know,
yeah,
whatever.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, you know, whatever. The one where he switches places with the nerdy guy. I woke up in
Lil Dicky.
Lil Dicky. I mean, you know, that, and now shit like that is genius. You know, like imagine now. Here's an idea that I just thought of with that. Imagine if me and a sales rep switched places, and you know, I woke up in a sales rep's body, like, you know what I mean? Like, so just like conversations like this can actually, genius ideas can come from it. So that's just it, man.
Yeah, and on that, I think it's a really important thing, because how many of these are hits, right? Like, this is the realistic expectation that I think people have to set for themselves, and I'm kind of teeing you up, hoping your answer would be in line with mine. But of these really creative ideas, how many of them are true hits for you, and then how many of them were like worth the attempt but didn't quite hit the mark?
Dude, most of them are duds.
Yeah.
I mean, you're gonna, you know, you got to swing for the fences, but it's either stud or dud, and you're gonna have a lot of duds. There's just no way around it. I mean, you know, that's
take chances. Yeah, if you're watching, just I don't want to say fail, because don't go out there with the intention of failing, but at least be cool with the fact that the majority of these are not going to work. But then you'll have a Chris Brown's body, and you're going to be nailing it.
And you know, that's it, man. Like, you can't predict virality. You know, there's no way to say content length has a correlation with virality, or, you know, this or that or the other thing. Like, rarely do you see things going viral in B2B now. Like, aside from that video I put out, which I guess I would consider it viral, you know, 100,000 views in 1 week, you know, the amount of engagement it had was pretty incredible. But besides that, I mean, like, that might have been my biggest hit of all time. Like, I don't even know if I could top that now.
Yeah. Well, now you're going to have to, man. You can't just let that be your best. And that's the thing that must have been tough when you're making it too, is some ideas you just know are good. And I'm sure you were making that video being like, I know this shit's good.
Oh, dude, believe me. Like, when I went up to that one girl and I was like, so I know we don't know each other yet, but I was hoping to change that. And she goes, oh, gosh. I just knew that, I was like, yes. Like,
I was so embarrassed for you. Like, on the other side of the video, I was like, God, this is so good, but ouch, sucks so bad.
It was cringeworthy, man. I mean, just like, you know, asking just like a girl that works at like one of those boutiques in the middle of the mall, those stands. Hey, so do you have 15 minutes on your calendar? And she's just like, I have stuff to do. You know, and that's just the reality. Like, look, when you ask for anybody's 15 minutes on their calendar, what that girl said is no different than what you or I are going to say. Yeah, guess what? My Asana sprint for this week is full, and I don't have time to fit your stupid request in my HOV lane, swim lane, whatever you want to call it, for you to show me shit that I probably already know.
Yeah. Or just don't care about because you didn't do any research.
Or, yeah, exactly. Or just don't care about. So, toodles. You know what I mean?
You know what you might like? If you like Asana, but you know how Asana doesn't have the Gantt chart functionality? I think it's like the only drawback. They have a tool, and it's free, called Instagant, which sits on top of Asana and lets you Gantt out all of your tasks. Cool. So if you like that view, which I tend to like, I use that personally because I'm like trying to figure out dependencies and where to set them. It doesn't really work from like the grid view or whatever other view that you're looking at. So you should
Yeah,
check that out.
that's cool. That's cool.
I want to take a step back to something that we were talking about before the call, because I think this is a very interesting, important part of someone who works as hard as you, stays on top of everything as well as you do, travels a lot for business, is the mental state and making sure you're staying fresh. And you were kind of briefing me on this vacation that you just took to the Caribbean this past weekend and why I think that's so important. Can you kind of share that mentality, with everyone watching and explain why it is that you do it that way?
Yeah. I mean, dude, we were neighbors for a short time here in Miami, Florida. I'm very sad that you're gone. I miss you dear. I did. I miss you dearly. I mean, I need a partner in crime down here. What's going on? But
I may have to just swing back every weekend or so, every other weekend.
Exactly. But part of it too is like if you can't go on like a little break, try to have fun like where you live. Like if you just like, I get it if you have kids and stuff and you're married, like that maybe you may not be able to get out as much. But I mean, for young guys like us, it's pretty easy for us to just make the most of where we're at. So just getting together with a friend, like, and shooting the shit over a weekend, we're in different industries, but we're in the same field. That's always really great for the mind, body, and soul. And of course we have fun with, going out in Miami. Those are some great times. But, for me, and I think every marketer and person in business should consider this once in a while, is just taking a weekend trip solo somewhere and just disconnecting from tech, disconnecting from LinkedIn, from email, text, maybe, your family or whatever, but, just really just focus on having some you time. So, I'm blessed to live in Miami, Florida. Very easy, inexpensive, short flights to, some of the best Caribbean destinations in the world.
Yeah.
And, I'm taking advantage of it, man. So one thing I do every month, I take a Friday off and I just do a Friday, Saturday trip, come back Sunday, and I go somewhere. And it's not that expensive, and I disconnect and I go by myself. I think about stuff. I think about my life. Where do I want to be? What am I doing? Am I waking up in the morning with purpose? Like, am I in good physical shape? Does my soul feel good? What are the things that I want to do creatively outside of work? Am I pursuing that? How am I doing financially? What's going on in my love life? I just think about all this stuff, man. And I just like, I get my thoughts together and like, of course, I hit the water a little bit, do some swimming, jet skiing. I just did some off-roading with, some ATVs in the island of Curacao. Yeah, like nature-driven stuff. I'm a New York City boy at heart, so we didn't have this kind of stuff growing up. I actually grew up like really poor, so now to be able to do all this stuff is cool, man. I remember when like I couldn't afford a Domino's pizza, so.
Yeah, man, we've all been there, or a lot of us have been there, man.
Yeah, dude.
That's awesome. And one of the things that I always ask, and it seems like this is a good way that you do it to manage this for yourself, is the mental stability, because all of us get so asphyxiated with work and like making sure we're doing all the right things and hitting all of our numbers, but we're never really concerned to the extent that we should be about our personal health, like you mentioned, but also just like our mental state. How often are you just hitting that reset button, thinking about how you're achieving your goals to keep yourself mentally strong? Is that like every week, or is that on that trip, once a month, where you're just trying to like reset?
Yeah, dude, it's huge, man. For me, it's every week.
Yeah.
for every week, man. So I just, I'm not trying to plug myself too hard here, but I published something on HBR about, tapping into your creativity to recharge yourself. And as you know, I'm an avid musician. I love playing the guitar. I love producing music. It's a totally different kind of side to the spreadsheet and Power BI dashboards. You know what I mean? It's totally different. I zone out and I do that, usually on Saturdays and Sundays, like pretty hardcore. And every week I do try to really think about like, am I on the right track? Am I doing the right things? And I disconnect. Like on Saturdays, I disconnect completely from all tech pretty much. Like, yeah, I text message a couple people, but like I'm not doing any work stuff at all. Sunday during the day, don't do anything, but Sunday night, I prepare. So I take a couple of, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. On Sunday night, I pretty much prepare for my week. I get caught up on email. If it takes me a couple hours, no big deal. and I just think about what's coming up in the week, and that's my routine, man.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. And I need to start. I try to do it in the mornings before work. Like I'll do the 5 a.m. wake up and run and read and meditate and all that. But I guess similar to why you do that on Sunday versus Monday is stuff comes at you fast once the workday starts, and you can't really like do that thing. Especially I find meditating in the morning is the right time for me, but it's hard because mid meditation I'm like, oh my God, that email that I didn't answer, all these things, those things. So yeah, I
Yeah.
guess I gotta try to figure out a way that works for me in the way that you have to get the mental state there, because that definitely will build up and build up, and then you don't want that bubbling over.
You don't, man, and that's that's the beauty about taking short trips often. Like I know there's some people that just don't take many vacations. Like they wait all year to take a vacation, and then they go for like a week or two, and and then it's back to the grind, and it's like, oh, I gotta wait till next year to go on my next trip. Like not me, dude. Like I'd rather take off a Friday every month and go somewhere once a month, frequently and short, rather than knocking it all out in one shot, but not being able to do it often, so.
Yeah, I'm just gonna throw this out there. If you want to do Cartagena next month, I'm all about it. do a quick Colombia trip. Maybe that'll be like a 4-dayer. I am about it. You name a day and a time, and I'm there.
You ain't gotta tease me with a good time, man.
Yeah, that's awesome. There's a couple more questions. I know we're kind of like running up against it here. I want to keep these short so people can really get some hard-hitting stuff out of it, and I'm sure they'll already be satisfied with what we've gone over, but I'm sure people are interested to see, especially from you, what kind of tech stack Nextiva's sitting on top of. What do you guys rely on every day to do what it is that you do? So you want to just like run us through your stack and why you use the different technologies?
Yeah. So we're a Salesforce Pardot shop. That's the lifeblood of everything. Very CRM heavy. We integrate with our own voice product, of course, which is awesome. We rely on our own internal tools. We don't use Slack. We don't use like all these, like we have our own, we use our own products, we practice what we practice what we preach.
Eat that dog food.
Yeah, we're drinking the Kool-Aid, baby. You know what I'm saying? We have the Nextiva app, which is fantastic for screen sharing, for chat, instant message, video screen share, all that sort of stuff. For webinars, we use a tool called Crowdcast, which I think is fantastic.
I freaking love Crowdcast, man. That is the best webinar tool, and I have no problem plugging them. It's the best.
Phenomenal tool. I mean, look, I've used them all. I've used GoToMeeting. I used Zoom for webinars. I'm not knocking any of them. There's a whole bunch of them, On24 and so on and so forth. But the coolest thing I like about Crowdcast is it's by far the most interactive of the platforms.
Yes.
You've got that cool, waterfall cascade style chat on the side. You can call people into the chat. Their face pops up on the screen. I mean, the analytics that you get with it are really cool. It looks modern. It feels modern. It's just cutting edge. Quality is fantastic. Can't say enough about Crowdcast.
Yeah, and they have open streaming. You can plug in anything you want. The only platform I could find. That's the only reason I even discovered them. Brilliant feature set, by the way, because I know a lot of other people like myself who only found Crowdcast off of the open streaming to any platform you want, which is game changing if you have a big Facebook audience, a big YouTube audience, to be able to live stream simultaneously cross channel from your webinar provider. It's nuts.
It's nuts, yeah. And the beauty about a thing like Crowdcast is we use it for internal stuff too. For example, I regularly coach our SDR via Crowdcast. I coach our enterprise account executives on how to crack target prospects on LinkedIn. Live sessions of, hey, these are the templates I'm using. Let's review them. Oh yeah, this is not going to work. I'll tell you why. Boom, boom, boom. All these sorts of things. How to automate your sequences. All these things. I work with reps on this. So we use Crowdcast as an internal education tool as well. Then for demand gen, some of the most heavily used tools that we rely on are the SEO, classic stack stuff. We're Ahrefs and SEMrush customers, fantastic tools. We use Screaming Frog for all of our technical SEO needs. We are Google Analytics and Google Search Console heavy. And there's a number of other things that we use too, but those are like the main core components of like our day to day.
How are you managing like your content schedule? Because that's one of the ones I always find is interesting. Like what you're producing, who's producing it, keeping on top of that. Is that Asana, or are you using something else to manage all that?
Yeah, it's interesting. We actually use Trello.
Trello.
Now we could have used Asana Kanban board style, but what we actually liked about Trello was that we keep people out. And I know you can make private projects in Asana and stuff, but we want like the content. It's we don't want people meddling. Too many people meddling.
Yeah, you don't want too many cooks in that kitchen.
We don't, and that's actually one of the things that like I had to fix like when I first took over. Like I realized there's like 10 people working. I'm like, whoa.
Calm down.
Let's pump the brakes here a little bit. We have one person who is the guardian of the blog. This person has the final say on what happens. And that's it. That person has the keys to the ship. I told this person, I don't care who tries to influence you to do what they want. You do what you want. And you do what's best for the audience. You do what's best to hit sales goals, whether that's building sales collateral. You prioritize it based on how you see fit there. And you do everything optimized for organic traffic growth. That's the main thing. We need to grow organic traffic. We need to increase brand popularity ASAP, because that's actually another thing we're struggling with. Some of our competitors in the space, I'm not going to give them free pub and tell you who they are, but
yeah, don't throw those names out there, man.
I ain't going to throw the names out there, but all I'm going to say is that we've got some, it's the classic David and Goliath type shit. These competitors are publicly traded. We're not. Very deep pockets. We have deep pockets too, but their pockets are like as deep as you can imagine. All the money in the world. And just way more popularity, way more brand search volume every month. Their brands are just more prominently known. So we've got to be everywhere. We've got to catch up. We've got to close that gap. So
we should. It's definitely too much for this conversation. We should almost do this again sometime on solely the topic of demand generation versus branding marketing. Like brand marketing as a topic, particularly if you're in that mid-market in terms of funding, in terms of actual like budgeting for your market spend versus these David and Goliath competitors, is one of the most difficult things to accomplish, because they can outspend you in every single medium, and you really have to crack this shell in a way that like shouldn't be allowed to happen. They have the money to beat you in every single arena, yet you have to concoct this plan to come at them. And that's one of those ones that I don't have a lot of really good videos or topics or discussions around how to effectively build a brand without the dollars that your competitors have.
Exactly. That, like you just laid it all out there, man. I mean, that is, I think, right now, probably like the top challenge that most marketers are facing. And I don't care if you're a brand, I don't care if you're in demand generation, I don't care if you're in product marketing, communications, whatever have you. This is freaking tough. And especially if you're in a market that is saturated. Now, if you're in a non-saturated market, like let's say the sales call voice to text analysis AI market, where you just have two giants there, you have Chorus AI and Gong, and maybe Exec Vision and some others, it's small. But with us, let's use CRM. Oh my God, if you look at CRM, it's endless. There's more CRMs now.
That would be even more brutal than anything you or I have to deal with.
Yeah, even more brutal. And the reason why you're seeing all these CRMs is because people are figuring out that all I have to do is copy what's out there and find niches and market it to those niches. So you have like Agile CRM. They're solely focused on real estate.
Yep.
They're saying screw pipe drive. They're going after all the entire market of salespeople across every industry. All right, good for you. I'm gonna focus on real estate CRM. And
you need some deep pockets to do the alternative. Like,
yeah.
I mean, the market for CRM and most of these tools, needs to be that big, or else you don't have a big enough market for your tool to even matter. But then if you niche down, at least you have the chance to be the best at it. There is one person I'll call out who I think has done a really good job. I don't even use them, but I definitely feel like in the crowded space of product management tools, equally as many as any other sector you can think of, Monday.com does an incredible job with their branding. Like, and when all the tools do exactly the same thing, every time I see Monday.com, I'm like, damn, if I needed a tool, I would analyze you right now, but I don't need you right now.
We study Monday.com.
Yeah, that's done right.
Study. There's a few companies that we really admire. Monday.com, what they've done with their video advertising is fantastic. It's great. I mean, you're not going to get better than that. That is sick.
Maybe Fiverr. They're doing some really good video too.
They're legit. They're legit. So Fiverr's legit. But yeah, Monday.com is killing it. MailChimp, the way that they've structured their site around actions and problems that they want to solve for their customers is tremendous. I recommend everybody go to MailChimp's website and look at their navigation bar. What you're not going to see is product A, product B, solutions, this, that. You're going to see, I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to accomplish this. And that is why they're winning.
Yep. Yeah, there's a couple out there that when you go through their process, you don't even have to think. You know, their website already explains to you the product in the way that you're naturally trying to learn it. And that's hard to do. That's getting away from I'm going to go visit 5 sites and figure out how I want to structure my new website design and then build it based on the market leaders. They're like, F all that. We're going to do it the way that people actually think. And that's hard to do. It's hard to sell that idea also. You know, that's one of those things too, is when you try to come up with something really creative, and why you're lucky at Nextiva to have that flexibility is sometimes when it's that out there, that it's that good, people are afraid of that.
Exactly. And, you know, the last thing I'll say about MailChimp and something we're doing, the reason they're able to do that is because they know why those customers are having those problems. And the reason why they know that is because they do the research. Jobs to be done. Like, customers hire your product to do a service for them. If you're a web designer, I'm hiring you to build me a website. What is your customer hiring your product to do? They're not like, and that's why, you know, I was just reviewing email template copy with somebody internally today, and I'm like, you know, this email template is not good. You've listed all of our products in bullet points. That's not what people want to see. They want to see increased revenue. They want to see retain customers by doing this, this, this. They want to see call pop, all your contacts in one central place, and when that customer calls you, boom, it populates, and they don't have to say, hold on, let me look up your information, Mr. Customer, while I have you on hold here. They don't want to do that. They just want to see it right away. So, you know, that's the example.
Yeah, buying outcomes, not features. Big difference. And it's hard sometimes, especially if you have a really deep product with a lot of product lines, to know which ones to tout, to know which ones matter to people, to understand what buttons to push. It's hard, but they're doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to say, real quick, before we jump up, there's a historic Harvard Business Review article that came out in, I believe, the 80s or the 70s that I think McDonald's did the first jobs to be done research on their milkshakes. And they were struggling to increase milkshake sales. And they tried everything. Thicker milkshakes, frothier milkshakes, more flavors, different sizes, you know, you name it, they tried it, and nothing would hit until they interviewed customers and they realized that the real reason why people were buying milkshakes was because of the drive-through and convenience. You could have it in a straw while you're driving home from work, and it wasn't about price, it wasn't about more flavors, it was about convenience. So the competition for milkshakes wasn't other milkshakes. It wasn't Burger King. It wasn't, you know, whatever. It was a donut. It was a sandwich. It was a cheeseburger. People don't want to eat that while they're driving because it's messy, and if you get crumbs all over you and yada, yada, yada. So then when they did a campaign around that, that's what took off.
Yeah.
For the milkshake campaign.
That's awesome. I love use cases and stories like that. And that actually begs, ask you one of these closeout questions, but I have one that has to come off of that before we do so. And it's, when are you studying, tactics and trends in the marketplace versus when are you studying the true psychological components of what make people buy? Because there's a lot of people out there touting that is the future of marketing, especially with AI coming in and eating up a lot of your day-to-day functions. How much time are you spending in one sector versus the other?
Whew. So I'll be the first to admit I need to spend more time actually on the psychological and research and customer side. I everybody on my team needs to do a better job. It's so natural for marketers to default to tactics. SEO tactics, optimized web page, PPC, exact match versus broad match, conversion rate optimization, move this module here, you know what I mean? Switch this button over there, heat maps. I've already mentioned a bunch of things that are going to make people's heads go, woo, or listen to customer calls.
Yeah. And you know what I think it is too? That's the most interesting part about it is like you do those things and you're almost trained mentally to think like that's a waste of time, right? Like, because there's no output on the other side of that. I didn't build something. Nothing got shipped from that hour that I spent listening to customer calls. And it's almost like reframing your brain to understand the impact that listening to customer calls will have on the effectiveness, or really studying the art of copywriting versus just being like, I'll churn this stuff out and I'll get it out the door. Those are the things, like the qualitative things that I think a lot of us don't really do that much, especially like learning and understanding why your customers buy. That should probably have a heavier influence on all the stuff that we do every day.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, I'll tell you a quick example. Heat map A shows that more people were interested in price as the higher module in the page. Same page. Heat map B shows that features were more important. What are you going to do?
Gonna guess, or you're gonna run it again and hope you get something more definitive.
Right, you're gonna run it again, or you're gonna guess, right? Same amount of traffic, same amount of people, yada yada yada. But me, listening to sales calls every day, I know that price is the most important thing for SMB. I know that because I listen to calls every day. I audit calls. And the other reason why I audit calls is because people say, hey, our leads are not good. Sales can't close leads. Why can't we close them? Well, I just listened to a call where this is a 15-seat deal opportunity. This rep didn't negotiate, didn't ask for the sale, didn't send a quote, didn't send a proposal, ended the call with, well, I guess I'll wait to hear back from you.
Oh, that nice passive drop off. That must have boiled your blood.
Yeah, and like we all know that the number one commandment of sales is that when the call is going to end, you lock in the next step no matter what. Mm-hmm. I don't care if it's I got to follow up with you in a week, if I got to follow up with you tomorrow. Not only when do I follow up with you, how do I follow up with you? Do I email you? Can I text you? Can I call you? Can I send you a LinkedIn message? I know you get a Mr. Prospect. I know you're a VP of sales. You probably get 5,000 emails a week. Maybe I can hit you on LinkedIn. Maybe I can text you. How do they want to be communicated with? So back to the point, I listen to customer calls because I need insight onto what to do on pages, what ticks them to buy, what's the language, and then finally it's just showing sales that like, look, your claim that marketing isn't doing its job is actually wrong. Mm-hmm. There's more evidence. I'm finding these cases every day. I don't have to try hard to find these cases. Our ops team is sending me the calls. I'm listening to them while I'm, there's two ways that I listen to calls. Like I listen to them as I do emails and mindless stuff. And then sometimes what I do is I really focus. Like I take notes on every section of the call. Yeah. And I'll send those reports to our chief revenue officer. And I'm like, look, we had a 15-seat opportunity here where this rep didn't do this, didn't ask for the close. I look at the status in Salesforce of that record and I see expired quote. no follow-up. Guess what happens? 7 days, that deal's gone.
Yep.
Guaranteed you
Yep.
lost it.
And unless you're really, and those are tough, man. And I'm happy that you're saying this because I feel that same frustration that you do, which is like you only have so much bandwidth and you really have to be selective. But if you're getting that and you're getting the right lead volume and you're doing the right things, or at least you feel that you are, and you dig into some of those calls, it becomes evident almost immediately where things are falling short. And it ends up either being on you, which a lot of times it does, or it ends up being on something that's completely out of your control, like you mentioned. But at least after that, you know, and in almost any other circumstance, you wouldn't find out without listening to those calls and digging into those emails. So another example of when like spending the time on some of that stuff that doesn't end in outcomes, measurable outcomes, is really, really worth the time.
Exactly.
I guess one last question for you, and this is like my favorite one, is for everybody listening, if you could make one suggestion, like your biggest must do this for 2019 that will impact them, what would you suggest to everyone that's listening?
Ooh.
Putting you on the spot. It can be business, it can be personal, whatever it is that you would do or to have the biggest change in your life in 2019.
Okay. I think 2 takeaways, one on the business side, one on the personal side. On the business side, just realize that incredible content truly does have the power to change your business. It has the power to influence your buyers. Like marketing's job is to influence the sale as much as possible right up until that point of sale. And the best way to do that is incredible content. So the main takeaway is take your content to the next level and do that by any means possible. The number one thing that I do for this is I compare what am I going to put out versus the number one thing in Google. Are we able to compete with that? Are we able to confidently say that ours is going to be more unique, more valuable, more comprehensive, more in-depth, and just more actionable? In fact, you should count the number of times in your content that you say the phrase, for example. Yes. And now I've noticed this in Neil Patel, in Brian Dean from Backlinko. If those guys in all their number one articles say, for example, at least 20 to 25 times with an example right below it. So Google is correlating their content to be more actionable because it says, for example, with an example.
That's interesting. I never really thought about it in that context, but I couldn't agree with you more on the quality of content, because particularly in the early stages, people tend to have pretty decent content. But once you get closer to the close, it starts to taper off, and the reps end up like, or at least I see, creating their own decks and like piecemealing things together. And you can really tell when someone's selling you throughout the entirety of the funnel, because they've got the perfect asset for every step for you and the perfect answer for every question. And it's evident that they're not just thinking about step 1, 2, they're thinking about steps, 15 through 20 or however many it takes for you to get to a closed deal.
Exactly. That's another great takeaway. Create content for every stage of that cycle. That's key. So that's on the business side. Content, but it's got to be the best out there. Don't just do whatever. Then on the personal side, whatever it is that you've been thinking about as like that side project or that thing that you've been putting off, just stop putting it off. Like for me, it was living in New York. Like I felt like I was in a rut, but I was scared to make that change. And I just said, fuck it, man. And I just came down to Florida, and man, like the quality of life down here is so good. It's less expensive. You know what I mean? I'm waking up more vibrant. I'm healthier. I'm not, in my apartment eating pizza and Chinese food every day, and it's cold and stuff. So I guess on the personal side, it's like just take that one thing, whatever you've been putting off, whether it's, losing weight, starting a passion project, just stop putting it off. Just like, don't say tomorrow, just like start now. So I know it's cliche, but just do it.
I don't think it is, because everyone, when they hear it, tends to just let it fly over their head, and they'll be like, oh yeah, I'll do it. But there's very few people who actually go out and actually do what it is they say they're going to do. And here's a perfect example of moving to Florida and how it's impacted you. I actually had the exact same experience from moving from Florida. So maybe you should just move to Florida. but you know, for me, an example, like I really wanted to learn coding as something that I wanted to do. And there's so many times I just push it off, like, oh, I'll do this, I'll do that. And, you know, I just captured all the time that I spent on Instagram doing nothing, calculated what that time was over the course of a week, and then said, I'll just spend that time coding instead of on Instagram. And it becomes super easy to do when you start to realize all the shit you waste your time on every day to just find a way to make the things that you want happen. So I love both of those, man.
Dude, I'm gonna tell you something that like my grandfather like does, like old Italian grandfather. Like you just had a moment where like they say, "You see," they go like this. They like whenever like you do something that they've been telling you to do and you finally do it, they go, "Hey, you see what happened? Ha. Now you grow up a little bit. You started to become a little bit smart." Like, you know, so that's a moment there. Like, that's brilliant. You know, you took a wasteful thing and turned it into something great by, you know, just realizing you're wasting time on mindless scrolling, and you put it to, you know, something valuable. So muscle, baby.
Muscle up. Well, Gaetano, man, as always, it was great talking with you. We'll definitely have to do this again sometime. We'll catch up on hooking up in Cartagena, get a flight down there one of these weekends. But for everyone who doesn't know much about Nextiva, go check them out. They're an amazing company. Gaetano's an amazing marketer, an amazing guy. So if you don't follow him on the channels, go find him on LinkedIn. And then I'll definitely see you guys around. We appreciate you watching. Thanks again, buddy.
Thanks again.